So when you start off a brand new, let's say project or sketch, what you're going to be working with is this nice little environment. You'll have your grids down here that you can actually set up and decide how big you want them to be. But otherwise, you're just going to be drawing. And in many ways, if you've ever used SketchUp, this is going to be very similar. Come over here, draw out how big I want this to be, draw that out. Now I actually have a box. If I want to, I can come in here and say that really should be 33 feet. So I can actually use real dimensions. I can use real elements that help me decide how big something should be. And from there, I can grab something and literally just push and pull. So it really is that easy. The idea of working off of objects and drawing on top of them then. Same thing. Just draw that on the surface, go back to my selection tool, and then push that back. So the same kind of tools and workflow that you might have inside of a SketchUp that you wished the masking tool in Revit worked like. That's how it actually works in here. Now, the masking tool in Revit, not a bad thing. It's very, very powerful. The problem for some people is because of that power, because of the hierarchy in terms of how you build things, it can be a little cumbersome. I just want to draw a box and a few shapes. In that case, this ends up being very, very simple. I just draw the shapes I want. I can push and pull. I can actually use preconceived shapes. If I just want to drop a box in there and put that in there, and then from that point on, I can select it, move it, and drop it where I want. Now, similar to SketchUp, there is sort of a stickiness to objects. When you put things on top of them, it'll snap. It'll also end up getting connected to that. Now, one of the nice things that they've actually done here is enable the ability to create essentially groups. So if I want that to be its own element, I can make that a group. And that essentially treats it as if it were a block or a family. So now if I want to, I can copy this around 3 times. And as I make an edit to one of them, it would automatically update all of those. So that way I can simplify the creation of elements that I want to be repeating. If I'm trying to make an interesting column or a window or a door, I really don't want to have to draw that every time. I can just put something like that in there once and be done with it. And if I want this to look a little bit nicer, I can always come over here and say that I want to apply different materials to it. So if I want this one to actually be blue, I can actually set that up to be blue. Let's actually edit the main thing. There we go. So I can modify this how I feel I need to do. And you can actually modify the materials as well. If you want to edit that, I can choose different colors. I can apply different bitmaps. I can actually apply some transparency to this if I want to be able to make it a little bit more translucent, give the idea that maybe that would be glass. Just depends on what it is I'm looking for. If I really wanted it to be curtain wall, I can set something up that actually gives the look of curtain wall with the grid system built into it. Now, as this little design here is, it's very, very basic. But if I want to make it look a little bit more realistic, I might want to know where I'm building this. So what I can actually do is tell it where this project is. So I go to the location, got my little Google Maps down here, tell it where I want to work. I can pick a specific location for the weather information. So this will come into play if I take advantage of some of the analysis tools. And if I want to actually say where the building is going to be, so let's say I'm going to put it over here. Show me the satellite image so I can get a better idea of what things look like around there. And let's say it's going to be over here. So import that image. So now I can actually see the site that I want to build on. So then I can just grab things and physically move them where I want it to be. I can modify my grid. I can rotate my grid to make sure things line up the way that I want. Now, the other thing that actually a lot of people don't realize is that I can change the way things look in general. So I keep mentioning SketchUp. This doesn't really look all that sketchy. But what I can actually do is tweak the visual style. So if I want sketchy lines, I tell it to get sketchy lines. And you can see the lines are a little bit more wavy or ragged, so it looks a little bit more interesting. I can say I want to have ambient shadows. Maybe I want my lines to be a little bit wider. So I want to see the hidden lines behind things. So even though this is a web-based tool, and for many respects it's actually very, basic and simple for what it's trying to do, but it's very customizable, it's very user-friendly, and it allows you to do a lot of different things.